and let that fuel pump run, and it should. Alright, so I bought my first diesel truck in December of 2017, I think it was. It's this 6.7 liter F-350, and so far I love it. And today we're going to be doing some maintenance on it. We've got both fuel filters to change, which I've never done before. They've actually never been done before. These are the factory filters that are still on the truck, and it's time for an oil change because we're almost to a T, up to 7,500 miles since the last one, which is the Ford recommended interval. And for the fuel filters, they say to change those at 30,000 miles. I think the truck's at like 27 something thousand roughly. Yeah, look at that, 27,300 something miles. And where is it? Yeah, a little over 700 engine hours, 740. Goodness, there's a lot of stuff under this hood. I don't even know what any of this is for the most part. Okay, so here's what I got. We got this Shell Rotella synthetic stuff. I got 4 gallons of that because I think the truck holds 3.5. I'll double check that. Factory oil filter. These things are supposed to be good, and they're not really much more expensive than the aftermarket ones. I think like only $1 or $2 if you're willing to buy these in bulk, which I am, because that's how I buy pretty much everything. So we got that, and then the fuel filter. This one kit has both the canister element and the other element, and that's this. I'll try to remember to put some links in the video description where you can find at least some of this stuff. And yeah, let's see what happens. All right, so I'll be honest with you guys, I really have absolutely no idea what I'm doing right now, but I watched some guy on YouTube change the fuel filters in his truck, so now I'm gonna give it a whirl. I guess I'll turn this thing into a handy dandy recycled catch pan, and we'll see what's going on underneath this thing. All right, warranty voided in 3, 2, 7. Not really, but that's what everybody says on the internet when you work on your own stuff. Okay, no, where is this thing? All right, that's the frame rail. We better not mess with that too much. Oh, it's all the way back here. All right, so I guess we just got to give this thing a nice little twist, and out will come a bunch of water/diesel fuel mixture, because this is, I guess, the separator, and the other thing is really the filter, however it works. So yeah, we got to do this, and I guess it's super important because if you don't do this, then the common rail fuel pump in this thing will self-destruct and send like chunks of aluminum through the system. At least that's what I've been told, but so far so good. And someone told me there's a check valve in this, so hopefully the whole fuel tank won't drain out here. I don't want to put much force on this. Just plastic. Everything is plastic. How does this, does it come down? I mean, I guess I just twist it. I'm scared to break something though. Oh, yep, okay, well. All right. Yeah, now we just wait for this to drain. The Canadian guy I watched, he actually made a really good video on how to do this. He said it's like 3 liters or something that comes out of this. I don't really remember how much a liter is, so I hope it fits in this thing. Alright, we're slowing down. So far, and I know better than to say things like this, but we have not spilled a drop so far. You know, it's not as complicated looking under here as I would have guessed it would be. We got Dana Spicer stickers all over everything. And this monstrosity. I got my eye on this thing. Come on, thing. Goodness, I got stuff to do today. I guess while that's finishing up, we will climb through my combination death trap workshop here. And the guy said it takes an 8mm thingamajigger with an extension. 8 mils, there we go. And I guess we just like twist this thing a little bit too, and it pops out, and some stuff is supposed to drain out of this, but hopefully it's pretty much all drained out of that by now, so. And this is the sensor that tells the engine when this thing gets all full of fuel. I like to think I've been pretty careful with what I've put into this thing, because, yeah, there we go. Because there's one place I usually buy fuel from, and if I had to guess, that station was built probably 5 years ago, so it's pretty new. Oh no, no, it's rolling away, dang it. Oh no. Oh my goodness. I gotta breed some helpers. I'm 25 and already I can't be bothered to chase after stuff like that. Yeah, anyway, so the place is pretty new, so you don't have to worry about there being tons of sediment and stuff in the tanks. And it's sort of close to where I live, so, you know, I see it's usually pretty busy. So that tells me the fuel probably hasn't been there for ages, and it's not, like, getting all nasty from sitting. So, but there have been times, like I remember one especially sketchy gas station in Oklahoma. But, you know, that's all that was in the area, so what are you going to do? That's one thing I did not really expect when I bought a diesel. Just how few gas stations actually sell diesel fuel. I mean, it makes sense. You got to realize they're called gas stations, you know, for a reason. And some of them also happen to sell diesel fuel. But where I live in Texas, it's probably only about 1 in 3 if you average the ones out in the country that pretty much all have it, with the ones in the city where they very rarely do. I don't know if these bolts are captive or what. Yeah, oh, hey, that's kind of cool. They don't fall out. I like it. You know, I really wonder how long these engines are going to last. Evidently, they tend to do pretty well even with the emission stuff on them. People say the 6.7 Ford engine is the first good one since the 7.3. All I can say is I really like mine. I've not had any problems with it, and it's got what seems like a purely infinite amount of power. And it even gets pretty decent mileage. I know that everyone says on the internet that all their stuff, whatever it is, it always gets 1,000,000 miles a gallon or whatever. But, you know, still for a 1-ton 4x4 truck, it does pretty well. I think one of these is holding on by half a thread or whatever. So yeah, I don't have any regrets so far. Oh, it's that. Well, of course it's the one that I can't get to by hand. Basic probability. Alright, I think we're free! Come on. Oh great, now it's that one. There, alright. Coming down. Coming down. Hey, you know what? That doesn't look that bad. Alright, I'm absolutely not going to be setting this on that workbench. Okay, too much dust and grit. So is it pristine? No. But for whatever I said, 27,000 miles, yeah, that doesn't look that bad. We can open this up later and see just how nasty it is or isn't. Is that some sediment I see in the bottom of this? No, that's just the way the plastic is. Alright, you know, hey, that's not bad. That's actually not bad at all. Okay, so we got our new filter here. In the little Ziploc bag you can save and put a sandwich in later. Let's see, we got... Oh, this thing's so clean. Which way does it go? I think it goes this way, because the hooks go in the thing here. I think, pretty sure. Should just kind of... There. Yeah, I think that's it. Now there's also a gasket in here, which we will be changing simply because we have a new one, so... Alright, so I will say there is some dirt on the gasket. So I regret not pulling this out when I took the old filter out. Because I just dragged all that filth, like, you know, there could be dust particles or whatever on the new filter. Probably a small thing, but, you know, now I've done this, so I'll try to remember that for next time. The other thing I should have done and didn't do, and I'll try to remember to do this for the engine compartment, is take an air hose and blow all the dust and everything away from the entire housing before we start messing with stuff. I wonder how much the dealer charges to do this. I don't know. So far, I've not needed anything other than a 8mm socket. And sometimes people ask me, they're like, you know, how can you afford all these tools to work on your own stuff? And, well, you know, when you look at what I'm guessing most dealers charge to do this little job, like literally, how can you not? All right, yeah, I guess, shoot, we just shoved this thing back up under there. All right, 2 bolts on one side, 3 on the other, so we really can't get this wrong. Oh, I should not be using language like that. All right. Yeah, I guess it just sort of goes up in there. Alright, that's a little jankety to be honest, but I think it's in there. Where's my impact now? Set to 44 inch-pounds, which from what the other video said is the proper torque. I did not get a manual with that filter. The Canadian guy, he had a little piece of paper that gave him the torque spec for these. There's no paper in my box, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Anyway, 44 inch-pounds is not much. This is like wood screw tightness, pretty much. This is all the water, you know, obviously plus however much fuel is in there from the entire life of the truck, right there. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but that that's a slightly different tint than regular diesel fuel, if you ask me. Okay, now we'll blow whatever dust there is under here away from that canister. All right. Oh, man. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not looking forward to this. When I see these little plastic clippy things, I feel a sense of dread. But maybe not. Maybe it's as easy as we pinch these in. In and down? Yeah, in and down, I guess. Does it come off? Oh yeah. Ah yeah. This one seems like it just lifts up like that, something. We do not want to apply any real force to any of this stuff. You guys know that already. Maybe that's all it takes. Maybe that comes up. All right, I think that one comes up and then we squeeze on these little black tabs. Oh yes. Oh, Mechanic Steve's got nothing on me. Aha. Alright, then there's the middle one, which a Canadian guy said this is the one you got to be ultra careful, like even by fuel filter standards you get no dirt in or whatever. So I'm guessing the other two are just return lines, but I'm gonna put down some paper towels in here so we're not dripping diesel fuel all over this thing. Shoot, man, why weren't the ones on my 04 that easy? That was a battle. I literally spent like probably 2 solid hours underneath that truck changing the fuel filter on it. That was the gas motor. Shouldn't really make that much difference. All right, how does this work? Does this just come up? Yeah. All right, we just wiggle this in. Ow, ow! All right, out we go. There's fuel in this. Wow, what a surprise. All right, now there's this little divot on the outside of the filter, and it goes in that little divot, and then we just rotate it over. Beautiful. Beautiful. I like it. Now these are all different sizes, so famous last words, you can't get it wrong. Yeah, there's no way. Now I'm fixing to run myself over with this thing. There's no way this is going this easily. Ah, shoot. And it isn't. Gotta work from the back of the truck forward, I guess. Yeah, and this is the outward one, so this goes directly into the fuel pump, and the filter even says out on it. Okay. Nah, there's no way it was that easy. Great, now we just gotta bleed this thing, and famous last words, the interweb told me all we have to do is cycle this thing to the on position for 30 seconds and let that fuel pump run, and it should all right, well, this is why we assume nothing when we work on stuff. Oof. Yeah, either this thing does not recommend you change the air cleaner at 30,000 miles, or it does, and I just did not write that down, and thus buy new ones. But yeah, that's pretty nasty. And I feel like the mileage in this has been dropping a little bit, and maybe the power a little bit as well. That's actually why I made it a point to check this. Note to self, plan to replace this at 30,000 miles in the future. All right, hopefully this will be the last go. Every single time I cycle that key, it makes those noises not as loudly and for a shorter duration. I'll give it another go or two just to be sure all the air is out of the system, because evidently this is all it takes, and we'll fire it up. I hope there's no issues from doing this. I'm pretty sure this is what the internet said to do, but this truck has been flawless. Literally not one single problem with it of any kind, no matter how small, the entire time I've owned it, and I would prefer to keep that string going. All right, let's see what happens. I like it. Well, now I'm just gonna let this sit here and run for maybe 10 minutes or so until it warms up a little bit, then we'll do the oil. Now I wanna make sure there's nothing leaking, and since there's a few drops spilled on the floor, there, that we'll know if there's any fuel on this thing, then there's a leak. See, I always knew wood was good for something. All right, now while that's going on, in the meantime, let's see exactly how nasty these old filters are. I know that obviously these aren't really made to be taken apart, so this might be something of a battle. The filter media is a little bit stained, but I don't actually see any chunks of debris in there. So I'm guessing it just caught some really fine sediment, and that's what turned it this color. All right, that's warmed up enough. And there's not a speck of fluid on our high dollar alert system there. Ah, it's a size smaller than what I got. You can never tell if it's gonna be one size bigger or smaller than the wrench you got. I like it. Oh. Oh yeah. All right, you know what? That really wasn't that bad. Might take a couple goes to get it all in this pan though. Yeah, it's warm. That's fairly thin. See how big of a deal it's gonna be to pop this thing loose. Well, very. I mean, to an extent, better too tight than too loose. All right, we'll let that trickle. You know what is pretty nice though is that I'm very comfortably underneath this thing, and as you can see, the truck is not jacked up. It's not on a lift. Pretty much just popped right under here. That's one thing I like about driving larger 4x4s. Well, not that I really expected there to be any, but of course there doesn't seem to be any coolant or any metal shavings or anything along those lines in any of this that's visible, so I'm pretty thrilled about that. So I set that pan as far forward as I can, and still that oil, when it shot out of there, launched probably a solid 8 or 10 inches past it. Oh my goodness. It's alright, it's really important you oil your wrenches every other oil change. So these are one thing that I really like. These are these, I think they're made out of wool, these oil absorbent pads. They work really well. You just kind of put them down, let it sit. They're cheap, and I like to keep these on hand. Oh, I got my shiny, smooth, newly oiled wrench here. I like it. 10W30 API CJ4 or severe duty 5W40. That's what we're putting in it. For those that don't know why everything uses ultra lightweight oil nowadays, you know, in comparison at least, it's because with lighter oil there's a tiny bit less rolling resistance inside the engine, or whatever the technical term is. So since the EPA is on all the manufacturers' backs, they decide it is worth it to run the thinner oil to have like a 1/20th of a mile a gallon better mileage from the vehicle or whatever. So I don't think it's a really good idea, but I'm not an engineer, so what do I know? Anyway, it's a pretty narrow funnel, and this thing takes 3 1/4 gallons of oil, so we're probably gonna be here for a while. fire this up so that filter can get filled up and the oil can get swashed around in there a little bit, and then we'll check that dipstick again. Okay, problem. This oil filter is dripping pretty heavily and there's oil on the side of the engine, which is bad, but you know, this is why we check. Now what I did is I was like, you know, it's really strange. I've not had that happen before. So I went and looked at the old oil filter in the garbage over there, and there does not appear to be an O-ring on it. So I suspect that the old O-ring got stuck on this thing, and there's now 2 O-rings, which is of course one more than there's supposed to be. So when I put the new filter on, yeah, like I said, this is literally why we check. Oh, you gotta top it off now. Well, looky there. That's an O-ring, all right. Well, looky there. That's another O-ring, all right. I've never had that happen before. Oh, my once immaculate oil filter. Oh well. The world will greatly miss its beauty. Yeah, it feels a lot different snugging it up with 1 O-ring in there instead of 2. All right, cool. I gotta wipe this down because otherwise I'm gonna look under this like from the side of the truck because the oil filter's visible and wonder if it's leaking every time I see it. All right, I think we're good. There's one last drop that came trickling down the side. I think that was from when I was putting it back on, because I wiped that off and no more has appeared. This is why I always say when we're working on things, you assume nothing, no matter what, because it would be very easy to be like, oh, I tightened that oil filter down just fine. I don't have to look under this thing. And next thing you know, you need to replace an $11,000 engine. I mean, you can assume nothing, and I mean, you can assume literally nothing when you're working on stuff. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. All right, I gotta back this thing out of here and replace that like cup of oil that was lost. Yep, not another drop lost. I have topped this thing off, looks right on the dipstick, and yeah, I like it. All right, so that was fun-ish, I would say. Try to stay in the shade here. Yeah, that was not that bad, to be honest. We kind of learned together on the fuel filter, but seems to be running just fine. I guess we got the air out of the system, and with the oil filter, could have got a little smoother, but it was a nice reminder of the first principle in turning wrenches. So yeah, this thing should be good for another at least 7,500 miles. I think I could go a little further with the synthetic because I don't know. I'll have to look, but probably I won't. I'll probably just do it again another 7,500 miles. I'm gonna go take a break and order several air filters for this thing, so I have them on hand as well. And yeah, just thought I'd share my adventures with you guys. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. Random adventure is random, and now taken care of.